Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Bull. I can honestly say this is probably one of the most depressing episodes of Bull, just the storyline all around. So let's basically break it down. This is Bull's first time back at TAC, subsequently since season 2's finale, where he had his heart attack. Basically, he cut all ties with everyone while he was in Arizona recovering and everything. So a lot has changed. Apparently, Marissa remarried one of her exes because basically her lifestyle, her at the time, 12 years ago, working with Homeland, she would be away a lot of times. Her ex-husband, now current husband, Greg, he works at a restaurant, so he'd always be home. So, but now where her job is, probably after everything she's kind of been through, she probably wants a little, kind of something. And it's kind of this interesting thing where Bull and Marissa, she copies him in his statement of like what it's like to be back, a little new, a little brighter, but at the same time familiar yet a little worn, as kind of her description for it. Because it's like it felt like going back, like, slipping back into something that's comfortable, essentially, at least in both their cases, but definitely in Marissa's case when it comes to the Greg situation. Her biggest regret, though, is it happened while Bull was away. So other than that, everything else seems pretty above normal. I mean, it turns out Benny lost 2 cases while they were away. Turns out Bull later on is kind of like, nah, you did a great job. It was just the 2 judges that were involved that were morons. But nevertheless, this case is a heartbreaking case because it deals with a woman named Julia, who basically originally had cancer, went through a surgery. That surgery, the cancer had spread to her liver. She went through another surgery, but that other surgery left a giant hole in her liver, and she will die if she doesn't get a transplant. So, but her insurance company won't pay it out, and the head of that insurance company is this dude named Marshall, who was played by Matt Servito, which is interesting because was it the first episode? Might have been the second episode. I want to say it might have been the second episode of season 1. Tristy Kelly Dunn was on Bull, which both of them are from the TV show. Banshee. His character's name was Brock, so just kind of serendipitous and interesting that it kind of worked out like that. But nevertheless, moving on. They're basically in a tough spot because everyone was like, whoa, we're learning about the victim, but we're not representing her. It's like, no, we're representing the insurance company. Ooh, we're representing essentially the bad guys in this situation. And so it's that complicated situation. And you even have Bull being like, I know a lot of you are thinking like we should be representing her, being easy gays, going up against a big bad company. But she didn't hire us. The big bad company did. So kind of almost like suck it up because this is a business and we're not a charity. So it's that thing where it's kind of like Bull bounces from being cool and awesome in other cases and just an asshole in others, which you kind of understand because it is like a business. Because it's like, as you remember last season, like TACT was on its last legs because it was like having money issues last season. So, but it's like a bit, because that was always their thing. It's like we take smaller cases, but we take the bigger cases so we can take the smaller cases, without having to worry about being paid out and stuff like that. So it's that give and take, but especially in this situation, because it's such a heart-wrenching situation, because it's almost like you have to demonize this woman who's dying, which you're trying not to. It's even interesting to me because Chunk's the one who suggested they go after her, and they're like, yeah, let's not do that. Probably ain't going to win us no favor. And Chunk's like, I'm just doing my job. But it's just interesting to me that out of anyone, Chunk would be the one to suggest that. But I guess it's because Chunk's the one that kind of went through the whole, like, taking classes to become a lawyer and everything. So I guess maybe he's trying to look at things from a different point of view in that particular situation. I mean, it's just like, it's not like he's happy about potentially attacking her anyway, but he's just throwing it out there as a suggestion because I think it's something that has to be considered in this situation. Because basically it's a civil suit, and the way the situation is, there are 6 jurors. They need 2 on their side. All she needs 5 of the 6 to win. All they need to do is get 2 to not be on her side and be on their side, and they win. So it's a very one-sided situation because it's like you in no shape or form feel bad for the insurance company because it's like the doctors, the surgeons, everyone connected on her side of things is willing to waive a lot of the pricing and stuff like that, for, the pay for her surgery. But the big costly part will be the whole aspect of tracking down a donor, finding one that's in relative condition, from also a kidney, a liver that would fit her, stuff like that, which gets super costly, would cost about like $500,000 to do it. So. And the sad thing is that Team Tact has to shift that perspective and go, okay, so how long would she live if she got the surgery? It's like at most 3.5 years. So basically what they rounded it up to be was like 42 months. So it's kind of like, it turns into that situation of, how much is a life worth? Because it's like, yeah, that 42 months she's getting could be years for another person. That's what they try to turn it to later on, because it's like, oh, look at all these other people who are waiting on the list for this long period of time. But it's like, oh, if you got a transplant, how long would you live? Oh, it's like, I'd live for 50 years, 30 or 40, stuff like that. It's like I said, it's minimizing her situation because it's trying to make it more so, and it's something Bull tries to get across later on, that giving her case special care is messed up, considering there's so many people in her situation. It's that situation of, if you give all to one person, there's not enough for everybody. I mean, there naturally isn't enough for everyone anyway, so there's not going to be a happy ending all around, but you got to make sure that there's at least enough to go around for everyone. It's an argument that leaves you kind of being like, nah, man, because it messes with you. I mean, morally speaking, it's like even everyone on Tact is like, we really hate, this is our job, we have to do it because this is the client and everything, but no one liked taking this job. Because even like Marshall isn't like, he has his happy moments of it, but even he kind of goes like, yeah, the situation sucks. Like, he denies her because they put like the money, give her the claim and everything, eventually other people's claims would go up in pricing because of this one claim where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a Hail Mary, because it's like the percentage of like her life expectancy still would be low, and everything related to it would be low and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. He said something I thought was kind of interesting, where he was basically like, money is important. It will help, with things that you would regret, because it's also something Marissa brought up I thought was kind of interesting, because she kind of shut Bull down really quickly, because she's like, the fact of the matter is, you're rich, which I kind of like, I guess I kind of forget that Bull is rich, because it's like, which I guess, because the whole Tact situation is what I'm talking about, because it's like, remember last season it was kind of broke. I guess he didn't want to use his own money to really pay for the company. I guess he was still doing it, but it's like, even that situation, you're still well off enough on your own after all his years and all that he's ever done over his career and stuff like that. I guess he's well enough off that it's not an issue. And it's like, you and Marshall, like, because she kind of felt like, yeah, it's like, yeah, you went through a terrible thing, but don't try and compare your heart attack situation to what Julia's going through, because it's like, it's not the same, because you and Marshall are in a position where you're privileged enough to have the money and resources needed to get whatever you need and want. So it's a very different situation than like Julia, who it would cost an arm and a leg to do what she needed to for this whole situation. So the real kick in the teeth when it was all said and done was the fact is that the company actually won. Now I'm going to tie this in with the other side of this episode, is the news we end up finding out that Cable is dead. That shocked me. I was like, because it's like Cable's missing. I'm like, what is up with that? What is that turning into? It never once crossed my mind to think that that's tied in with like the whole Bridget. Because I was like, oh yeah, is that the new case they're working on? I was like, oh, how's that going to? It's like, it never crossed my mind. And it's like, nope, that's because that was alluding to the fact this Cable is dead. And it's like, that's crazy. You just like, you off-screen killed her. I don't know, maybe the actress decided like, yeah, I don't want to come back to the show for whatever reason. Maybe it's like other opportunities came up or something like that, which is just crazy to me. Especially after what Cable went through last season. She was kind of away from the team for a while, but then she came back. But still, like, it's just kind of like, and it's because it's such an off-screen death too, so it's kind of like, that sucks. And everyone's kind of dealing with it in their own way. Because even Chunk was afraid to leave Bull by himself, because it's like, I honestly don't know how you react to this, because he's avoiding drinking, which his method of avoiding drinking is getting in taxis, and it's like, oh, if I'm driving by, they can't catch it, like the taxis won't, like the bars won't. I was like, oh, I'm driving by too fast for the bars to really affect me. So, But the thing is, like, the point I'm trying to make is kind of circling back. Is I thought when it was all said and done, under these new circumstances, I thought Bull was going to try and get it. So like, okay, we examine Cable. Oh, she has a good liver. Like, we'll look into it, and it's like, oh, it turns out Cable has a liver that Julia I could use. I thought that might be something that happens later on. I thought that's what Bull was going to try and look into and try and help her out. But it's like, no, instead he just gives her the $2 million, because for him, it's like, I'm a little crazy. You can ask anyone I work for. Plus the whole fact is of what he recently went through losing Cable. And it's just kind of like, it's a lot stacked upon itself, because that hits him even harder, because everyone was able to talk to Cable in between season 2 and now. Like, he was away, recovery, he wanted to be alone, but it's like, in that time trying to be alone, he cut out these people and like cut out any time he could have had with Cable. And it's just, it's one of those things where I'm sure like it makes you realize how short life is. I mean, that's kind of something Benny had thought, like, oh yeah, like some going through what Bull went through will change you, and kind of thought it would be for the better. And then Chuck was later on, and it's like, yeah, he sure came back a lot nicer and stuff like that, being sarcastic and stuff like that. But in retrospect, it's like, yeah, I mean, everyone handles, their mortality in different ways. And I guess this was Bull's way of, trying to slip back into normal while still not feeling normal. You can definitely tell it was just kind of a lot being back and everything. Even he admits that he's jealous of Marissa because she's happy. And, it's interesting because he references what Isabella had told him last season. Is it Isabella or Isabel? It's Isabel, I think. Yeah. His ex-wife, where it's like, you not good alone, which is like, it's, once again, like his relationship stats has always been kind of all over the place, because there have been instances where I'm like, aren't you and so-and-so together? But then it's like, especially like him and Diana, I was like, isn't that a thing? It's like, no. There's a thing with your ex that, sick. I mean, I figured that was kind of like a moment thing, but it's just kind of like, I definitely felt something between you and Diana, but I guess like that's not really a thing, not unless she pops up this season. I don't know. But I guess that's something we'll see going forward, is him doing that. But I'm curious to see what that means going forward. I mean, the team in general going forward without Cable. It's something I thought about, kind of got brought up last season about a potential replacement for Cable. And now you're making like, no, a permanent potential replacement for Cable. And it's just like, what happens there, Because it's like, do you replace her or not, Because they need a tech person on their team, but that kind of shocked me. Like I said, I'm assuming it's because the actress who plays Gable decided not to come back for the show or whatever, but that's just kind of crazy to me. I mean, what does this mean going for Bull, especially because he's already been through a lot already with the heart attack and everything, so now he's got to keep a watch on his health and everything, and on top of that, dealing with this, and his work environment isn't like, it's a very stressful work environment too, so I'm curious to see what this means going forward for the rest of the season. Like I said, this is one hell of a way to start off a season. It's got kind of like a bittersweet silver lining when he gives over the $2 million at the end, sure, but it's still kind of a depressing ass episode. That's a silver lining to one situation. It does not make up for the other like blow to the gut, that being Cable. Because I had no idea what they were going to do with that. Like, where's Cable? What's up with that? What's going on here? Because for whatever in the back of my mind, I'm like, at the beginning, I was like, you don't think Bull secretly has her working on something, until Bull brings up, like, have you seen Cable? And it's like, okay, that immediately gets rid of that. So I'm very interested to see what they have in store for the rest of this season going forward. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good